I think we're live.
Looks to be.
Been live for 6-7 seconds. Yep. We'll just wait for a few people to get on. I'll just send a tweet out quickly just to say that we're live.
No problem.
Right then, guys. Everyone, can everyone hear us? Everyone hear us? Okay. Evening all. How you going, everyone? Good to see you all in here. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm here with Chris from Toys of the Jedi, as usual. It's my partner in crime recently, which is good. Don't have to do all the talking myself. Just want to say thank you very much to start with for everything you've been doing, helping me and others spread the word of the back TVC or fight for TVC, whichever hashtag you've been wanting to use, sometimes both, which is great. Getting the word out there about the little issue that we have about vintage collection figures in general, 3.75 not being enough of them. We've discussed it quite a lot. And obviously the petition hit today. So if you aren't aware of the petition, I'm just going to drop a link into the chat now. Let me just copy that URL for you. So we'll get things rolling right now. We'll just drop this in now. There we go. So that URL there will take you to the petition. I hope you'll all sign it. We've had over 1,500 signatures already. Obviously, this isn't just me that's doing this. This is lots of different fan channels that are involved. I've been in discussions with Chris over at Bantha Skull for over, well, nearly 2 weeks about this whole thing now. And all of the social media stuff that we've been doing to try and raise awareness, basically, has all come down to this moment now where we've got this petition and we really need to make a mark. So I think, as I said, we've got over 1,500. I'd love to see 2,000 by tomorrow, and I'd like to see 5,000 by Monday, which would be absolutely awesome. So let's see how far we can take this. And I think, obviously, the more that we get, the more notice Hasbro will take, basically.
Absolutely, yeah. Get out there, share the link to the petition. Make sure you're using those hashtags. We've got to get it going, keep it rolling, and really make our mark on this one. Yeah,
because I think it could have essentially a negative effect. Basically, if we don't get enough, then it might sort of prove the doubters wrong, essentially. And some people think that might not be a bad thing, because then obviously it might go away for a little while. People will miss it, then they'll bring it back, and then everyone will be loving it again. But I don't particularly want to go down that route. I want it to sort of continue in its current format in the vintage collection, and for them to bring out plenty more figures, more than 12, as I've said a few times, particularly in 2021. I think it will be now, because I don't think we'll get too many more that we don't already know about in 2020.
No, I can't see us getting too much more this year, but hopefully this will make the difference for what we get going forwards. And I mean, to those that are saying sort of, well, what's signing a petition going to do? It's not going to make any difference. Well, if that's the way you feel, fair enough. In that case, you've got nothing to lose by signing it.
Yeah.
If you're that confident that this is going to make no difference, what's your one little signature going to make any difference on there? So throw it on anyway. That's what I'm saying to that sort of argument on that. So yeah, get out there, get signing it, share it, all that sort of stuff. I know I keep repeating myself, but it's important that we do this and get the movement going, keep it going.
Yeah. So obviously I've shared it today on the UK Facebook group for the vintage collection, the buying and selling group. I know that Chris and John shared it on the US vintage collection group, which has got 9,000 members. Now, a lot of those might be dead accounts that have been on it for however long the group's been set up, people that don't check their Facebook that much anymore. But if you're thinking 9,000 people on there, we've got to get 5,000 signatures on that petition. We've got to, just purely from that group, in my opinion. If they're in that group, it's specifically about the vintage collection. This petition is specifically about the vintage collection. So there's no reason why I don't think we can get to 5,000. I'd love to think that we could get to 5,000 buyers, say maybe this time next week. That'd be absolutely awesome. I'm not really too sure how long the petition's going to last. We'll have to ask maybe Chris at Bantha Skull about that. But we did just want to give you guys an update of how things are going, and just to thank you, really, just to say we appreciate everything that you guys have been doing. I know particularly on my Twitter, lots of people have been retweeting the tweets that I've been doing, and I've been doing lots of images on Instagram of characters that I like. A friend of mine, Harry, thank you very much, my friend, for actually using your Photoshop skills to produce those, because I ain't got a clue how to do those. We're just talking about the characters that we would like, and he did the work. So thank you for hitting the heart button on Instagram and all of those. But there's more you can do. You can share the petition URL. You can share that on Reddit groups. You can share it on Facebook groups. You can share it on Twitter, Instagram. Instagram doesn't really allow links that you can click on, but people can still copy and paste it into their browser and sign it that way. That's where Instagram's a bit dodgy, if you ask me. But Twitter allows links, Facebook allows links. So just get it out there as much as you can.
Is it worth doing a bit of a recap as to why this all started, where we've gone so far for anybody that's maybe tuning in that isn't up to speed with it all? I mean, given how much coverage you've given it on your channel, I can't imagine there's too many. But just in case this is the first video that someone's come across, is it worth just covering where this all started from? So, do you want to recap that?
Yeah. So obviously, 2020 itself has been a little bit worrying with the no early wave. The first wave was in April of figures. Then we had the repack waves or reissue waves announced, and then obviously we've had a few come out about the 2 waves that are going to be out towards the end of the year. So then they had the live event on Hasbro Pulse, and the comment section for me was just littered with people asking for more vintage collection, and we only had the Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper announced, which is a bit of a shame, and everyone was shocked that we only had the one. Then they did the fan channel Q&As, and this is where I sort of came into it, really, because I wasn't happy with the answers that were given to specifically questions that Bantha Skull and I think it is Imperial Shipyards asked, and specifically about the vintage collection. So I basically contacted Chris at Bantha Skull and kind of told him my intentions of what I was planning to do, and we essentially just started our campaign. So I did my back TVC, they did their fight for the TVC, and we've been trying to get the message out ever since, really. And that's just, and now we're at this point. That's it.
Yeah, so we've kind of done the initial bit of a social media blitz with the hashtags that have gone out there, which hopefully everybody has seen. And then, yeah, obviously this is the next phase of that, which is the actually getting the petition out there to show that there is a demand for vintage collection products. So yeah, that's where we are now, and that's why we are doing this live stream, to kind of just make sure that everyone is aware of where we are with things and what needs to happen next, what you need to do to support it.
Yeah. So we don't really want to go into too much details about phase 3 because we haven't really sort of set in stone exactly how that's going to go. I have had sort of Twitter conversations with Chris at Bantha Skull about how we feel we should do that, because there are certain people in the community that feel that just asking for more figures isn't the way to go, and people should be asking for specific figures and characters. I do agree with that completely, but I just feel that to get the buzz going and to get the momentum going, you kind of need a more of a broad thing that basically just says, look, we want more at this point. And then when we know that they're listening, essentially, then we can maybe get into more specifics. And I think, as I say, I don't really want to go into too much details of how that might happen, but it might involve different fan sites having different polls for different films or movies, maybe, or different TV shows, depending on. So you could maybe vote for your favorite or most wanted Mandalorian figure, or your most wanted from the Solo film, things like that. But as I say, nothing's set in stone yet. The thing that we want to do now is get as many people to sign just the general petition that says I'm a fan of the vintage collection, and essentially we just want more new figures. That's what it says, new, and that that is bolded out because it's essentially, we don't want repacks, we don't want reissues, we want them to invest in new figures, and us being the fans, if they do that, then we'll speak of our wallets, which is what they want us to do.
Absolutely, and I think new and more are the key words with that, because you've got the danger is that if you get everybody rallying behind a particular character, then they'll go, great, yep, no problem, we'll make that one, and they'll throw him in. But then we'll still only get 12 figures a year, which is not what we want. We want more figures. Yes, great. We want some of those extra slots filled in with the most popular character from The Mandalorian, the most popular character from Solo. We want those extra ones in there, and hopefully we can give them a bit of a look. Here's your next 10 figures from each film at somewhere along the line. But like you say, Tim, that's stuff we've all got to iron out still before Phase 3 goes live, as it were.
David Sutherland, thanks very much for the super chat, mate. I do appreciate the support and everything. Thank you. I just wanted to show this. Dan Conley, where's the petition? Yeah, I have put it in the chat, but I'll put it in again just for people that are turning up now. So there's the link, the tiny URL that'll take you to the petition, and you've just got to essentially sign it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Do make sure you confirm it through your email as well, just to make sure that's all done. But it is, I did see somebody ask in one of the forums I'm part of, is it a legitimate one? Yeah, change.org. It's the one that we're sharing. It is legitimate. It's all the fan sites. Well, I say all. A lot of the fan sites getting together and making sure our voice is heard on this.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Chris from Bantha Skull actually set the thing up, but obviously he'd been talking to Jedi Business, he'd been talking to me, he'd been talking to Jedi Temple Archives. I think he tried to get a few other people involved. I believe Victoria's Cantina is involved as well. So plenty of people involved, plenty of people to get the message out there. And as I say, it's at this moment in time, it's literally just about awareness and trying to get as many names down on that petition to say, look, we're fans of the line and we're prepared to support it if they make us new figures, essentially.
Absolutely. Because it's my favorite. I don't know about you. It always has been my favorite line ever since they first released those figures in the original trilogy collection. That just fantastic to get the extra articulation. It felt like a superior product all the way back then. So, I mean, like I said, that was the big thing for me. Did you start with that sort of stuff, or where was your interaction with the vintage collection specifically? Where did that come about?
Well, I mean, I've always I collected the original ones when I was little. I used to play with those when I was a kid and what have you. The vintage collection specifically, I did have a bit of a blackout moment in collecting when I was buying a house and things like that. But I did have quite a lot of the vintage original trilogy collection when those first ones came out. Saga collection. But when the actual vintage collection hit, I got a few of them. But then I must admit, I just had to buy a house and get married and things like that and have kids. So my collecting, as it were, sort of ceased a little bit until around about when the Blu-ray ones came out, the Blu-ray deleted scenes ones came out. Because I remember seeing those on Amazon, because over here in the UK, it's, as you know, it's quite difficult. I remember seeing those on Amazon, and I think they were quite expensive, but I thought, this is what it's all about for me, the vintage style cards with high quality figures. But I must admit, I missed out on all of the legacy collection and all of those, and I'm gutted because I find myself buying them up now.
Yeah, 3 times the price, of course.
Yeah,
that's the other bit. No, because it is such an amazing line the way it's gone through. Like I say, the original trilogy, the Saga collection, then you had the proper line in 2010 with the actual vintage collection full line, and it's an odd one because some people have kind of said, well, the vintage collection is just the legacy collection, but in a classic package. It's the same as the Black series was supposed to be the vintage collection, but in a fairly boring package.
Mm.
And to an extent, yeah, but I think the vintage collection, the way Hasbro have always sort of touted it, is it's the pinnacle, it's the quality that you get, that you're always going to get with that, which I think wasn't necessarily the case in some of the Black Series figures that they did in the orange and blue cards and the red cards. Some of the paint apps were a little bit dodgy on those. So I know what they mean, but
I think at the same time, we can't rose tint it though. There have been some dodgy ones put into the vintage collection. And this is kind of the sort of thing that we've got to sort of highlight, basically, that we're prepared to pay for the premium figures in the premium packaging, but they've just got to be new. Yeah. We don't want an old figure from 2000 and whenever. I mean, that recent video I did with the Black Series 3.75 inch with the Tuscan Raider. I mean, he was 2004, was it, or 2006? 2006, wasn't it?
That's the one. Yeah.
Even worse, Darth Vader, I think. Darth Vader.
2004, yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't think they can really do that kind of thing for the vintage collection. It needs to be new figures. And as I said, we said on the last stream, 2019 wasn't actually too bad. I mean, obviously there was the odd repack here and there, but we actually got some pretty good stuff. I don't think anyone can really deny that. And if we had the same level of commitment this year, I wouldn't be doing all of this. It's just because it has gone down. Let's say 9 figures we'll get by the end of this year, probably, depending on what else gets announced in a play set maybe or whatever. But single carded figures, it looks like we're going to have actually 9 new figures, which that's just not enough.
No, not to keep a collector base engaged and interested in it, because it's so easy just to go, right, well, that's my set of figures for the year, right? I'm bored now. Let's go and collect something else instead. Yeah.
And the problem is, though, is that I'm not having a go at the Black Series here. I do like the Black Series. I've got some of them, right? But today, the very day that we're doing this live stream, and the very day that the petition goes live, a rumor comes out of 4 new Black Series figures, and they've got code names, but everyone can kind of work out what they are. And it's probably going to be, Queel from The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I think one of them's potentially a Dark Ray, maybe like Sith Ray. And there's a couple of others, I think, that are listed as Mandalorian as well. So that's 3 new ones from The Mandalorian. They're already getting the Beskar. They've already got the Mandalorian himself, Cara Dune. Okay, we've got those in the vintage collection as well. But considering how well that show's gone and how well it's been received, you would have thought that they would have just smashed out, 10 figures this year for that. I'll tell you, and this is why I'm personally doing this and trying to rally everyone up, because I love that show, and there's at least 10 characters, 10 figures that I'd want just from that show, let alone all the other ones that we can list,
I mean, I can kind of understand a little bit of the hesitation from Hasbro to really throw a lot of weight behind The Mandalorian. It was the first live-action TV series that they've done for Star Wars, so there's no guarantee that it would be a success. And given that we didn't find out about the child until he actually appeared on screen, it strikes me that there was a lot of secrecy around the project as well. So with that in mind, and given that Hasbro do take 18 months to produce a figure from the moment it's conceived right the way through to the time you actually get it on the store shelves, it's no real surprise that we haven't got millions of the figures already. But that said, there's no reason you can't go, right, we're definitely making Keel, we're definitely making Moff Gideon, all of these extra characters. There's no reason you can't come out and say, right, we've got that, it's coming. Patience.
Yeah, but they're coming in the Black Series, aren't they? So there's no reason why. I completely understand your argument there, but they are coming out in the Black Series. So, and I'm not bashing the Black Series, because if you said to me, here's a 6-inch Queel figure, I'd snap it up, most definitely. I'd prefer it in 3.75, obviously, but I would end up probably buying both, I'd imagine, just like I did with the Mando. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but that's where we're kind of at the moment. And this is obviously, I say to everyone that's watching, 72 people now, which is brilliant. Thanks for tuning in. This is why we're doing it, and the other fan channels are doing this, because without you guys sort of sharing the tweets, retweeting the tweets, whatever you do, hitting the like button, all that kind of thing, without you guys doing that, then the message wouldn't really reach as many people as it needs to. So again, the message is just keep sharing it. I wouldn't go as far as saying get your mum and your dog and everyone else to sign it, because we want real people signing it. But you know what I mean? We want as many people signing it as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the thing is with that petition as well, you don't have to make your name public on the actual thing. It's just it takes note that it's there. So even if you are a little bit shy and you don't particularly want your name out there for that sort of thing, that's fine. You can still sign it and keep it hidden in the background. Just please just get out there and sign it.
Yeah. See, Greedo's Labs says, look, I feel like Star Wars is super popular again right now due to The Mandalorian and the Clone Wars, and Hasbro needs to capitalize it. They do, and gone are the days of where we'd get the figures before it comes out. I don't know whether there was less risk back then or whatever. They just knew it'd sell or what. As Chris says, they didn't necessarily know The Mandalorian was going to be a huge hit. The Clone Wars, though, I mean, everyone knows people love the Clone Wars. I think just the buzz of everyone was having of season 7 being done, they should have capitalized on that. I mean, they are trying a little bit. They're giving us Wolf, they're giving us Fives, apparently, allegedly.
Yep.
And Captain Rex is kind of muted as well. But it just depends what they give us,
Yes, yeah, because obviously there's the one that was in the blue line of the Black Series,
which we don't want.
No. Let's just make that clear. We don't want that one. But there was also one that was sort of put into a presentation for, I want to say 2013, when they were going to do like a droid factory line, but then that got pulled and the Black Series went instead. And that one was a removable helmet Rex with what looked to be the VC-45 clone trooper body.
Yeah, I think it was
with the correct
pauldron and Phase 1 helmet, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I think we had a bit of a back and forth about that. And you said he must have the modified helmet that he's got in the actual latter series of the Clone Wars. But there's no reason they can't do that, is there? And put that helmet in with it alongside the Phase 1 helmet.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because of Series 7, you've now got 3 helmets, haven't you? You've got the Phase 1, Phase 2, and then you've got the Ahsoka one.
Yeah.
But maybe they could just give us like a standard clone, a standard 501st with that. And Rex has his, Yeah. There's loads of ways they could do that,
Absolutely. That's 2 easy figures for them to churn out. And one of them's a repaint, but it's a character we haven't got before, so it's an easy one. Just makes sense. I
know some people don't like that clone though. They think it's too skinny, don't they? The one that we're talking about. But this is the problem. You can't please everybody. No. And this is where I was a little bit skeptical about asking people to name the figures that they actually want at this point, because everybody just wants something different. I see it in my comments section all the time. People just want different things. People want sequel trilogy stuff, whereas I would prefer Mandalorian, Clone Wars, and OT. Mm-hmm. Some people want figures that were never released in the Kenner line that should have been, like Garen Dan and other Cantina aliens and things like that, on a vintage card. Some people want the 96. And when there's a lot for them to do, but they're only going to get through those if they actually start producing more figures. So, but the problem is that and I do feel for them in this position. Everybody wants something different, so that's where phase 3 will come in. But once we've sort of gathered a group of people that are all in, basically, then we can sort of start saying, right, what is it now you actually want from the line?
Yeah. This is kind of the hammering on the door to say, oi, pay attention to us. Don't forget about us, because we're the ones that have been there since 1978, and then again in 95 when the line picked up again. But we're the ones, this is the line we're still there. Don't forget about us.
Yeah.
Then once we've got the attention, then it's having the conversation of, right, this is what we want. This is what we actually want. But like you say, that's the phase 3 that we need to work towards.
Yeah, absolutely. Ian B. I wasn't collecting during the first VC run, so I'm one of the few that appreciate the repacks. However, they shouldn't slow down the new ones. Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, I see a lot of people complaining about those reissue waves, but I kind of want to say to them, these aren't for you. These aren't meant for you. You know, they're showing up in Targets and Walmarts when they shouldn't. They should be fan channel only, so they shouldn't be clogging the pegs. That's the whole idea. They should not be clogging those pegs for other waves, if there were other waves, which there's not. So they're not. Then even if they were on the pegs, they wouldn't be holding anything up now anyway, which is a bit bizarre. But those aren't really for people that have had the first run, because the facial deco probably isn't enough for them to go out and buy that figure again. It's for people that want to get into the line. This is what Hasbro have said anyway. You know, we want to pull new fans in, or maybe some of the harder to get figures possibly. I don't think the ones that they've given us necessarily are. I think the next wave might be. There's going to be the Clone Commander Kenobi, and the Anakin, and the Anakin and Darth Maul. So there's three reasonably hard ones to get there, which I think will sell. But these waves really aren't for us, the collectors as such. They're for new people to collect. So you kind of just got to ignore those waves really, and just think, right, what are the waves that are for me? And they are the Mandalorian wave, the wave we're getting in September, October, which is Luke Stormtrooper wave, Power Droid, and then the next wave after that, which I think is November, possibly December, which is your Luke Jedi wave, and then the 3 unnamed figures, which we kind of know who they are because of leaks and what have you. Obviously, things can change, but we're pretty sure we know what they are. They're your 3 waves. So that's it. So there should be, in my opinion, 6 waves. So a wave every 2 months of 6 figures, maybe even 8 figures.
Yeah.
And as we discussed before, it'd be 6 new, and then your 2 repacks. You know, because a lot of people don't want the old figures to come out. So, like, you know, if you went out on eBay and spent £60 on a General Grievous, you wouldn't want them to suddenly re-release General Grievous and everyone's picking it up for $13.99. You know, so these reissue figures, they're not for us. These are just, here's your hero characters. Come and enjoy the line. You know, start collecting this line. And that's where I think it's a bit weird, because if you're going to get people into that line, then you need to give them more afterwards, you know?
Yeah. More to keep them once you've got them in. Absolutely. And the thing is, those repack waves, as it were, there's figures that I missed from the first run of the vintage collection that I'd love to get a second chance at. Without having to spend 180 quid.
Yeah.
You see Ahsoka go for that price easily. Now, I've got her from the Black Series run, so I'm not after a loose figure per se, but on a vintage card, I don't really want to spend 180 quid just to get hold of her. It's so it's finding that balance with that sort of thing.
Yeah. So Thomas Miller says in Victoria Cantina's Q&A, she said one of the Tonica sisters actresses wants a figure to be released. I think that has actually been the case for a while. You know, I think she said that's been maybe 2 or 3 years, and the whole thing that they never wanted it to be done was almost like a myth. It may have been the case years ago, but she's been in contact with her for a while, I think. Yeah, no, go.
I was going to say, yeah, there's a couple of bits and pieces behind that. She did actually manage to get an interview with one of the actresses that played one of the Tonica sisters, and asked her specifically about the action figure in question, and that actress, again, sorry, I can't remember the name, was specifically said, yeah, more than happy to have an action figure released. Sadly, the other actress who played the other sister has passed away a little while ago now.
Right.
And I'm not sure if that was where the hold up on their side, that they didn't want their likeness used. So whether that now does open it up, whether Hasbro are willing to get into that conversation with the estates to see what can go on there, that's a different kettle of fish. Or whether they're just going, no, it's not worth the hassle. I hope it is worth the hassle, because they're two figures that are quite prominent within the cantina. So anybody who's got a cantina diorama, they're two glaring omissions from that scene.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed that they can get around that. Good point, Thomas.
Evening, only one. How you doing, buddy?
Evening, mate.
The left-hand song Tonica Sister is gorgeous. I hope that's not the one that you just said passed away. That wouldn't be okay. But yeah, I know what you're saying, mate. We need a Rebels Ghost, please. Scale to 3-inch figures. Be nice.
I it'd be absolutely wonderful. So I imagine it'd be a similar sort of scale and size to the big Millennium Falcon. We've had the Legacy Falcon. My concern is with that I think we may have missed the boat on Rebels. Series is properly finished. Filoni actually said, I'm happy with the way I've concluded it. No intention of going back to it. Yes, their stories could continue, but the actual Rebels series seems to have come to an end. So unless we get another big push for the actual crew of the Ghost or the Ghost itself, you're going to need a serious amount of fan push. And again, maybe the next big hashtag campaign will be around the Ghost, but it's going to take somebody to go, right, come on, lads, come on, everybody, let's make the push for this vehicle to get that one made, I think.
Hi, John, mate. How are you? Been speaking to John recently on he's the admin of the Vintage Collection group on Facebook. We were talking about it earlier, mate. 9,000 members. Not really too sure how many of those are active these days. You know, with Facebook's accounts, sometimes you join groups and then just don't bother with them much. But it is a specific Vintage Collection group. 9,000 people. I would expect at least half to sign the petition.
You'd certainly hope so, yeah. Certainly for a group that is, as like you say, as specific as the Vintage Collection group, yeah, you'd expect that a lot of them are active in there. So,
and we got Chris as well. Hi, Chris. Been speaking to Chris a lot as well. So anyone that's just joined us, I'm just going to drop the link again, third time, to the petition. If you can just do your best to sign it, share it, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, wherever is your channel that you are hanging out the most, share it on there if you can. I don't know whether Chris wants to comment in the chat, but I was kind of touching on the third stage of it in terms of not really saying too much about it, because obviously we don't really know what's going on. But I think it's fair to say that the third stage after the initial petition will be about allowing the community to suggest in some way their most wanted characters in whatever film, movie, or whatever. But this particular part of it right now is just about getting as many people as we can possible, just to show Hasbro and whoever else of how many people are actually there to support the line.
Yeah. It's
but yeah, the Rebels thing that you just mentioned there, because Zeb's been announced, doesn't it? Or GameStop kind of let that one out. Zeb's coming out, which has then prompted Hasbro to re-release all of the crew of the Ghost again. And obviously that's good for a lot of people, because I think Ezra's quite rare these days. He's quite a hard one to pick up. So again, whether that will sort of jog Hasbro into sort of wanting to do any of the Rebels characters in the vintage collection, I don't know. As I say, they've got so much that they could possibly give us.
Well, this is exactly it. There is so much out there, so many different properties, not properties, that's not the wrong word, sources of where the characters can come from, that, yeah, they could absolutely throw Rebels characters in to the vintage collection. Whether they want to go down that road and start picking those characters up, I'd certainly get them on a vintage card. I mean, Hera is one of my favourite characters in Star Wars, full stop. Whether they'll go down the route of putting those into the realistic, super articulated 3 3/4 scale, I don't know. Like you say, at the moment they've got enough on their plate with trying to fill out a Mandalorian display. You've got what, 4 or 5 figures that you can actually use for that at the moment. It's nowhere near enough. Need plenty more.
Yeah, so Chris agrees. Look, right, first we need the extra slots in the line, then we can work on getting those fan favorites. That's exactly how I feel about it. I think there are some people out there, and they're entitled to their opinion. They're saying, it's all well and good you're doing this, but Hasbro need to know who you want, otherwise you'll end up with X, Y, and Z. Well, I think first of all, we need to just try and get them to guarantee that we'll get more than 12 figures a year, and then we can start helping them out about who it is that we actually want.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. If we all get on the various forums and say, right, well, the number one character we want is Moff Gideon, for example, for argument's sake, Hasbro go, great, yep, thanks. We'll put him into one of those 12 slots that you're going to get for the year, and that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not what we want.
No, that doesn't accomplish anything, because they're doing that now, aren't they? They're doing that now. They're giving us K2SO. I'm sure a lot of people wanted K2SO. There's a lot of people that wanted Wolf. There's a lot of people that wanted 5s,
Yep.
But they're taking a slot. The point is, we want 25, 30 slots, not 12. So this is it. When we get the slots, then we can start discussing and communicating who it is we actually want, in those slots, basically. So I think it's going well, though. I think we've got a lot of signatures so far, considering it only launched at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I think it was today it launched. So I've done my best to share it out on Twitter. There's been a lot of retweets of that tweet, so thank you whoever's done that. Just need to get out to more and more people. The more eyes on it, the more chance we've got people of signing it.
Absolutely.
If you follow me on Instagram, hang on a second. If Hasbro had a free hand, I truly believe there would be more OT characters. Disney has the reins now, and I believe Hasbro must bend the knee. I'm not sure.
To a certain extent. But on the other hand, Hasbro will have paid a heck of a lot of money to get the Star Wars license. They're not just doing Disney a favor by making this line. They're going to want to see that, well, what's selling? Yes, Darth Vader sells. Yes, Boba Fett sells. And I'm sure Luke Skywalker does as well. But you're also, if you've got your large portion of your customer base, collectors, which at the moment that's what the vintage collection is. It's aimed at collectors, certainly in the ways that you can actually obtain the figures. The collectors are actually saying, well, we're okay for Darth Vaders. We've got 600 of them on our shelves already. We're okay for Luke Skywalker because you gave us 4 last year. We want Keel. We want Moff Gideon. We want third stormtrooper from the left, for argument's sake. We want the more background obscure characters.
Yeah.
So I think Hasbro have got some say in what actually gets produced, and they go to Lucasfilm to say, look, we want to do this character, and take it from there, basically. So
yeah,
I know what you mean.
What do you think about what Chocolate Chip Wookie's saying here about themed waves of 6, say, from one particular thing? So they did that with the Phantom Menace, didn't they? Was that 2 waves in a row that pretty much had all Phantom Menace? Was it? It's quite a lot of them in a row, wasn't it?
They did. I mean, the big one for the Phantom Menace had about 10 figures in it, I think. All Phantom Menace. And it was very heavily produced. Again, they were expecting it to do big numbers because Phantom Menace was out in 3D. And I think it didn't quite do.
A lot of people blame that, don't they, for the demise. So what do you think?
I loved the themed waves when they did it in the Legacy Collection and the 30th Anniversary Collection and the Saga Collection. It worked really well. But we were getting much more figures per year, and there were also less different source material to pull those figures from. So if you take that 6 waves for a year, you're not even getting one from every film, let alone The Mandalorian, let alone Clone Wars, let alone the other bits and pieces that come along with it. So I think we may struggle to do themed waves unless they went to a wave a month.
Yeah,
maybe 4 to 6 figures.
Absolutely.
That might work.
Yeah, because if you brought out a wave of, say, in today's levels of all Rise of Skywalker, I mean, they did it almost, didn't they? But let's just say the next wave is all Attack of the Clones, for example. Then a lot of people just won't buy those because they only buy OT. That's their thing. So you're going to have to wait 6 months to get them to buy anything. But as you say, if it's happening every month or every 2 months, then that's probably more likely. I quite like the mixed waves. I quite like it when you get maybe 3 or 4 from the same thing, and then just like a couple of others randoms bunged in. I quite like it when they do that.
I do. I think what worked particularly well with the themed waves with the older stuff was that you'd get the Builder Droid parts to go with it. So there was
like those, didn't you?
Oh, I love those. Absolutely love those. There was the incentive to go and get all the figures from that wave to complete your droid and get your extra figure free, for want of a better word. But that said, I mean, I quite like the mixed waves. I think you get a bit of variety out there, so that if you are a fan of Attack of the Clones, you've got that figure in there, and you haven't got to wait 6 months for a character that you actually want. And you can get a bit of variety in there. But I think releasing Cara Dune and the Mandalorian in the same wave was definitely a smart move. So there's some things that you just like a couple to pair up, and if you've got a new property, a new media out there, then you probably should load it towards that particular property, because that's what's hot. That's what should be in the public's focus, to get those out there.
Yeah. And this is what I said on the last stream as well about Hasbro said, didn't they? They said to reduce the problems of distribution, and they said they were going to do less waves with more figures. But now they're doing less waves with less figures, because we're getting 4 in a wave every 4 or 5 months or whatever it is. I think they definitely need to go back to 6 a wave or 8 a wave, and then if they're going to do 8 in a wave, then I could handle 4 times a year. If they're going to do 6 in a wave, then it needs to be 6 times a year. Do you know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And then say if you've got them on a more regularity, then you could potentially do a whole wave of all of them. But I personally like it when you get a bit of a mix. But so long as they're coming fast, then people are going to get everything what they want eventually anyway, because 30 figures in a year or whatever, then you're soon going to fill all those holes that everyone's moaning about. You'll soon get your Hammerhead and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've done the Jawa. We were waiting for ages for the Jawa. We finally got the Jawa. Just a few more, isn't there, that they need to do from from the original 96 anyway, if you're talking about just the 96.
I mean, if you talk about the 96 on a vintage card, there's still a fair few to go. Certainly to put them on debut cards. I mean, we still haven't got a Stormtrooper on a Star Wars card, for example, which I think
crazy.
is probably this one they're going, we don't want to give you that one. That was, I feel that one might be a little while yet before we get one of those, unfortunately. But there's plenty to go through the line, plenty of figures that need upgrading within that. Certainly within the last 17. Plenty of Ewoks to put on cards, which I know aren't everybody's favourite, but I like them. So yeah, and that's just the original 96. That's just characters from the original trilogy. So much more that can come from the prequels, the sequels, the spin-off stuff. Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not going to slow down, is it? Because we can't get enough figures out before the next thing comes out. You know, when does Cassian come out? When does Kenobi come out? Second series of Mandalorian. People ask me in my comment section, do you think when Mandalorian season 2 hits that we'll get characters from that, or do you reckon they'll do more from the first series? And I'm like, well, a lot of the characters are going to be in both still, so hopefully they'll just give us. But you know, Queel, spoiler alert, if no one's seen the Mandalorian, turn off now. Queel dies, so he's not going to be in season 2, and he's one of the best things about the first season, and we haven't got that figure. So they definitely need to revisit the series 1, but it's just going to go on and on and on, and Disney are going to be going, here's this, here's this, here's this, and Hasbro just need to. This is why we need more, because by the time this time next year comes around, you know, it'll be even longer that we're waiting for Hammerhead and a Snaggletooth and what have you, you know, and then we'll be like, well, you can't give us those now because you're giving us Mandalorian season 2, and people aren't going to moan at that because that's what's up to date and around at the time, and that's what they want.
Absolutely, and I think for a lot of collectors that have been in the game for a long time, new figures, new characters will trump updates to existing characters because, well, they've already got several different versions of that character. Whereas a new one, this is new, this is something a bit different. So I don't think anyone's going to complain that you're getting season 2 Mandalorian characters if we get them, of course. But by the same token, I still want my Snaggletooth on a Star Wars card. I still want my Hammerhead on a Star Wars card. So we need those as well.
And I know Chris from Bantha Skull replied to my tweet because I showed the image of Garandan, and he was like, you know, it's not necessarily the 96 that I want on a vintage card. It's the ones that should have been in the 90s, or, you know, in the 106, you know, that they didn't get round to doing. It's those guys that he wants on vintage cards. And I'm in that camp as well. There's I mean, I've got him here, look. He's a great character, isn't he? And he would look great on a card. There's no doubt about it.
That's it. I mean, the scope is definitely there. I mean, the comment you put up on the screen there, is that how do
Harry.
you feel about that one? Harry. Right. Hello, Harry. We have met before at Echo.
Yeah. Well, this is a dodgy question, really. Sorry, Harry, but because obviously not everybody can afford everything. You know, you can't start going, oh yeah, I'd pay £20 a figure, no problem, if they gave it to me. I probably would. You know, I'd sell something or something to buy them or whatever, or I'd try and make some more money somehow, not illegally, of course. But there's some people that just can't afford. So there has to be, you know, a cap where you just think this is getting a bit silly now, you know. And I don't know what that cap is. I don't know.
It is a tough question, and I mean, I feel very much the same as yourself. The higher you put the price up, the more people go, nope, I'm out, which means that it's then more difficult for Hasbro to reach their minimum number of sales to make that figure profitable. So the price goes up again and again and again. So I don't think raising the price too much is going to do them any favors on that side of things. The only sort of where I could see that working at all would be as a sort of collectors club exclusive, where you sign up for a figure a month club sort of thing, pay X amount for the year and do that. But again, you're in danger of alienating people that didn't get in on that in the first place. Possibly something through the HasLab as well, maybe. But otherwise, I don't see it for your retail priced figure. I don't really see that it can go too much higher.
We touched on this a little bit on the previous stream, and what definitely needs to stop is one Walmart in X state getting a whole bunch of figures and eventually, putting them on clearance almost straight away, for example.
Yeah.
And then another state not overseeing them at all. So you get that sort of scalper mentality where people are just buying them all up, selling them on eBay. And also they're selling for $6.98 or whatever instead of $12.99. So I think most people, with inflation that's in the last 10 years or whatever, I think most people would probably be happy to pay $12.99 for a figure, whether it's pounds or dollars. So if you want me to put a figure on it, I think that's probably an acceptable price. Would everyone be able to afford 30 figures at that price a year? I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. But I think that's an acceptable price. But we just need to get out of this, some people finding them for just silly cheap money, because that's not doing anyone any favors, is it?
No, and I think some of that needs to be Hasbro working with those stores to say, look, this is exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing this state over here. They're paying $3 for a figure, and yet over in this state over here, they're paying full price. And in another state altogether, they haven't even seen that wave. So why aren't your stores talking to each other and shipping the stuff between stores to make sure that every store is getting a fair crack at the different waves, different figures?
Yeah.
I say it like it's the easiest thing in the world. Obviously, Walmarts and Targets are huge companies, and one product line is not necessarily their focus.
No.
But that doesn't mean they shouldn't be trying.
The problem is we don't really have this issue in the UK because we don't have big stores competing against each other. You're lucky to find any figures in any of the stores. Essentially, you've got 3 or 4 main websites, internet companies, basically, internet stores, and they sell out. They sell out every time. Whatever they're allocated, they sell out. You go on In Demand Toys now, and most of the vintage collection stuff they've got is completely sold out. Yep. You've even got Luke Crate figure. People were moaning like the clappers about that figure when it came out. Oh, he's got dodgy paint, dodgy hair, this, that, and the other. It's now rare as you like, and everyone's clambering to get it on eBay for God knows how much.
Yeah.
So we don't really understand the whole US thing because everything we get over here sells out. If you don't get on that pre-order, you miss out. You've got to be quick sometimes for these sorts of things.
Absolutely. I just want to touch on one of the comments in the questions in the comments there. Where has it gone? Oh, it's disappeared on me. It was James Andrews, a little bit below the one you got highlighted.
Can you click on it? Or
I don't think I can. Yeah, about 3 below where you've got highlighted at the moment. Do you honestly think things will change? We just need lots of love for 3.75 range. 25 to 30 figures a year would make a world of difference, especially Ponkrell. I bossed my life.
He knows I don't like Ponkrell.
But I mean, that is one of that first question there is something I have been seeing quite a bit. Is do you honestly think things will change? Well, I mean, thankfully, I think James is sort of answering his own question there. But to other people that are asking that, well, if you do nothing, nothing's going to change. But if you make a noise and stand together and show that there's enough of us shouting about this and that we want this, then there's a chance things will change. I can't guarantee it, obviously, but there is far more of a chance that things will change if Hasbro can see that people want this stuff. So, yeah, I really do think that this will change things.
Yeah, they said it. They said it on the live chats, on the live stream. They said it at the when I was at New York Toy Fair. They said it. They say all the time. They read the forums. I think Patrick even said Rebel Scum. I heard him say it. So you know they know where they're reading fans' comments, and they said, you know, keep getting your audiences and viewers to put their suggestions in the comments, because we do read them and we do, you know, we do act on them, I guess. So this, and that's probably more on the basis of like, oh, there's a bit of a noise for this particular character. You know, people are saying we haven't got we need the Jawa still, but you know, some of those are quite obvious to them anyway. I think sometimes when they think, or they say, well, we need fan interaction, we need to know what the fans want. Some of it I just think is obvious and they should just do it. And they know it will sell, and I don't know why they don't do it, but they do read these things and they do take note. So this idea is about, at the moment, just bringing awareness of trying to show how many people are out there that want this stuff. Not necessarily at the moment about specific figures, because as I've said loads of times, in my experience and in my comments section, and also on my website with the open letter at the bottom there, the comment section of there, everybody wants different things. So if everyone went out there right now and said, I want this, I want this, I want that, it'd just be a massive noise and they wouldn't really get anything from it, in my opinion. This is how we do it to start with. We just get a movement together, and as Chris said, it's only going to change if we do something. Sitting back doing nothing is not going to change anything, which is why I contacted Chris at Bantha Skull anyway about his Q&A, because I said, look, it's just not, you know, I want to do something about it.
Well, exactly.
And we're here.
That's it. And hopefully, like you say, phase 3 will be the bit where we actually get more of a consensus as to what the community wants Hasbro to actually produce. And yeah, I'm sure you can all look forward to what that looks like once it's finalised.
Yeah, that's a good point, Harry. So all the people that went in on the barge should be signing this, absolutely. So if they had near on 8,500 signing up for the barge, prepared to spend $500 for the barge, plus the rest of them, the other 1,500 of them, I don't know where they went, but there was 400 of them on eBay. I managed to be one of the lucky ones to pick one of those up. And with shipping and everything, it comes to like £650. So if people are prepared to do that for the barge, then people should be prepared to sign a petition just to say we want more figures. You know, maybe some of those figures will actually go on your barge, you know, or on the skiff or whatever. So absolutely right. We should, you know, I said 5,000. I'd love it to be 5,000 by this time next week. I don't know how long it really took them to get the barge up to the 8.5. I think it's pretty close towards the end, wasn't it, of actually hitting the 5,000, but then it just suddenly flew up.
Yeah.
You know, and I was sitting in the UK going, I want to buy one of these, and you're not letting me buy it. You know?
Yeah.
What's that all about? We had to pray that at 7 p.m. on a particular day when they went on eBay, that I could be one of the quickest people to get one in my basket and buy it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely right, mate. They need to get off their arse and sign the petition.
Putting it bluntly. Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, there's obviously there were some people that bought multiples of the barge, but yeah, you still should be able to get easy numbers on that, and that was people that can afford to buy a $500 barge. like that. So people spending less on a single figure, you'd think the maths would be that, yeah, that's affordable. And I mean, while we're on the subject of HasLab, I did see one of the questions earlier. I can't remember who it was by, but obviously HasLab, the Vintage Collection barge, has really been the only really successful HasLab campaign that they've done.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cookie Monster didn't get finished. The Transformers won the Omicron, or I can't remember the name of it. Didn't meet its target within the initial time slot, so they extended the deadline on it.
Did it make it in the end?
It did make it in the end. Yeah,
it did. Right.
It's going through the production phases at the moment. But Unicron, thank you very much, James. It didn't exactly fly out the door like the barge did. So as far as the HasLab goes, TBC is the one that succeeded. You've clearly got a fan base there.
Oh yeah. And I was surprised that it took so long to get to the 5,000. To be honest, for the amount of time that people are asking for this thing. But
I think for some it would have been a case of, like you say, selling some bits and pieces to make sure that they can afford it and what have you. But,
and I think also there's also the case of people, sitting there looking at it at 2,500 and thinking, well, what's the point? It's going up by about 10 a day or whatever, But when it starts to get to 4,500, they're like, hello, this thing's going to get made now. I'm going to, as you saying, maybe some people did buy 10 of them or whatever. I would imagine they probably did. I would hope there's not too many of those people out there. They're holding their price on the secondary market, that's for sure. They 1,200 quid, I think you might be able to pick one up for, which is double the price essentially. I know there's a lot of people out there in my comment section specifically that would like it. I get it a lot. Do you ever think it'll be re-released? And that I don't. I think it's just a mammoth thing that they did. And also the whole exclusivity of it would sort of not maybe sit well with the people that did actually back it. But
no.
You can bet your bottom dollar if they were to do another one, like a Sandcrawler or something, people are going to back it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they'll probably go. I say that. I think if they've got any sense, they'll go for something like a Death Star playset. Not necessarily a full one, but a couple of modular things. There's no reason that HasLab can't be a much smaller thing, but a bit more niche. So a Death Star playset where you get the trash compactor and the dissension block, and that's out there, and you can only buy it through the HasLab. And then a couple of months later, you do the next bit, which would be, I don't know, the landing bay and the conference room. As exciting as the conference room sounds. But there's no reason they can't do that with the HasLab side of things. So
well, they did say, didn't they? They said, HasLab could essentially be anything. It doesn't, it's just something that they probably wouldn't want to get out into the retail stores or whatever. But if there's enough backing for it, they'll do it. How they sort of come to the decision of what they're going to do. I mean, the Cookie Monster, where did that come from? I mean, I used to watch Sesame Street. I've got a bit of nostalgia for Sesame Street, but do I want a 300 quid Cookie Monster? No, I don't. I don't care how it moves.
I'm
but that
sure
one was bizarre.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of Muppets fans out there and what have you. But I didn't see the market for that myself. But I'm not into the Muppets that heavily that I'd know. Oh well.
Right, let's get some comments. So, Customers for the Kid, hello mate, how are you? He has signed the petition. Thank you. Here you go. Oriel, I've asked him countless times, and he knows I have. I've asked you loads of times, Nick, to come on the live stream. Do it. Otherwise, I'll stop asking. The the barge, the big Falcon, the big ATAT, very difficult to have. They're exclusive. Star Wars Universal stop the exclusivity. See, this is the thing. There's a range of opinions about how these things are done.
I think the exclusivity of having HasLab exclusive to the US and Canada, I think that definitely needs to come to an end. They need to sort that out as soon as possible. And they've had when did the barge start? Was it 2 years ago? The campaign for the barge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've had 2 years in which to sort that out. And we're 2 years down the line, us in the UK and the rest of the world, we weren't able to vote on the recent Black Series poll because they still only got HasLab for the US and Canada. So yeah, that side of the exclusivity definitely needs to be sorted out. But as far as things like exclusives to Walmart and Amazon, I take them at their word when they say that there are certain characters that we wouldn't get if they didn't go to exclusive stores. I think, yeah, again, there's a little bit of work to be done with working with those stores to make sure that they come to collectors in a decent state and actually reach stores. But if you're in the US, I believe a lot of the time the exclusives Walmart go online. Again, likewise with Amazon, it's all online. And for us in the UK, in-demand Star Action typically will get a supply of the exclusive figures to distribute here. So yes, it's more online based, but you can still get those exclusives. It's looking out for them.
Yeah, the exclusive things over here, you've got to be quick with them. They will only get a limited amount, and I think the one that everyone really wants is I'm trying to find it, the vintage style Boba Fett, the 6-inch one. That one goes for a lot of money, and I think Patrick even talked about that one on the live stream or in the Q&A anyway, I think, in one of them. And he was talking about the exclusivity. He said there is a balance, You've got to make it available to the people that are going to the con so they can get something exclusive because they're going. But then again, you can't annoy everyone else because they can't get it. So there has to be, a limit on the production run of that particular thing. And you're always going to get people that don't or can't get it. It's just the way it is. You've just got to be quick. As soon as these things come online, you've got to be quick. And I've lost out on things before when I haven't managed to pick them up. Other times I've been successful, and it's a bummer when you don't. It is, but you're right. I think those sorts of things are always gonna be around because Walmart and Target both like the exclusives.
Yes, yeah. I think the Fett that you mentioned there, I do suspect that somewhere down the line he'll get released in just basic packaging or an archive line, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Largely because he's Boba Fett, and
Yeah.
as you were saying earlier, they like to re-release him. He's had there was the Carbonite exclusive sets where he came in with that. There's the mainline release. There's the archive. There's the carbonized version of him, and it's all the same mold. And the prototype Fett as well. It was all the same mold, and they just like to keep recycling and re-releasing. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he gets.
And that's fine. That's fine because if they do that, I'll buy another one because I haven't got him loose, and I think that's a great figure to have loose. I know we're talking about the Black Series now, which we're only going to do for a little while, but just to talk about exclusives in general, I would love that figure loose. So I've got the one carded because I like the vintage style card. Whether it's 6-inch or 3.75, I like that card. That's the nostalgia part of it. The fact that they painted the figure in the colors of the original figure is great. It's just a great idea. It's obvious that it's sold like hotcakes. So if they did release it in the black and red box, I'd buy it just have loose. You'll still have the people that want the one on the card, and that's where the sort of it's a bit of a bummer if you didn't get one is basically, but it's just the reality of it really, and there's no way we're ever going to get around that. I don't think.
No, and I think the other part of that is the exclusivity actually does make it that bit more special when you finally do get hold of one. If that's what you really want, then you put it in your eBay saved searches and you keep just checking for one that comes up at a price that's right for you. And then when you finally do get it, yes, that's something special about that. So it's not the end of the world. I think the loose side of things, so long as you can get one in a reasonable package, like I said, the red and black line, yeah, I think that's a sensible way of doing things for me.
Yeah, Geek Rush, where are you from, mate? Let us know where you're from in the comments. So, are you talking about the Dooku that's just in the standard red and black box? That's the only one that's been released, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I believe so. Yeah.
So we've only got online over here, so I managed to pick one of those up luckily. But again, as I was saying, the online stores over here sell out of everything. They get their stuff and they sell out. It's very rare that you pick something up in the sale or something like that. We don't really understand what clearance is over here. I mean, there'll be the odd figure, of course, but in general, everything sells at the price, and it's like that for a very, very long time. And most things are sold out. I think I mentioned this to somebody. I can't remember who it was, but VC09, the reissue, so of Boba Fett. You've got him way back when he gets reissued, and now the reissue, that one's double the price on eBay, and In Demand Toys are saying they're getting more stock in June for it. But I think the pre-order for that is sold out. So the vintage saying the vintage collection doesn't sell, I mean, that's just nonsense as far as I'm concerned. Absolute nonsense. It does sell. In the UK, it sells out everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you saw with, I think Jedi Sample Archives highlighted it, and it was also in the Rebelscon forums that Dorkside Toys actually said, yep, we sell more vintage collection products than we do anything else. It's the one that they have most numbers going through their sales.
And they said it's not even close as well.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't us bashing the Black Series, because I'm sure a lot of people in the comments section and myself, I buy Black Series, not as much as the 3.75. It's the occasional character that I really like the look of. I won't buy everything. The box itself doesn't really grab me, so everything that I will buy in the Black Series will be to open. I'm not going to sort of keep them in the box on a shelf or anything like that. Geek Rush is from Mexico. Here's an interesting one from Customs of the Kid. So I'd like to know where you heard that. Because I kind of heard the same thing a long time ago, and it still hasn't been announced. So here's hoping, eh?
Yeah. I mean, again, I suspect with the current situation that the world finds itself in, if it was due for release this year, it's possibly been pushed back.
Maybe.
But yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. Let's see what else we've got here in the comments.
I take it Grido's Lab is from the UK if they're ordering from IDT by the looks of things. So another one, well done. Plenty of UK viewers on here tonight. That's good.
Yeah, so I did actually promise Chris from Bantha Skull that I would address the UK audience specifically tonight, actually, because he was saying that obviously with his audience on his website and Jedi Business and Jedi Temple Archives, he says, they've got the US covered, which is brilliant. But when I look at my analytics on my website and on my YouTube, maybe 60% of my audience is from the US, which is brilliant. And I love having you guys on. But I'm hoping that I also reach people in the UK. And if I do, then specifically to you guys, we need to support this as well. So if you haven't filled out the petition yet, I'm going to drop it again into the comments. So please go on there and sign the petition. We need as many names worldwide as possible. Geek Rush, you're in Mexico, right? So get that link and share it out to all your Mexican Star Wars buddies, Yep. Get it out there as far as we can. It needs to be worldwide.
Absolutely. Make sure you're tweeting it around as well with the hashtag BackTVC, hashtag FightForTVC, and hashtag Save375. Those are the three main ones that we're seeing for this campaign. And obviously, if you're following those hashtags, you're going to see plenty of other people that are supporting the same cause as well. So yeah, make sure you're using those when you're tweeting out that petition as well.
Absolutely. Now, I did see only one's comment earlier, so I just want to quickly show him this quickly. Just going to share my screen. Excuse me a second.
Okay.
So you mean that one? I take it. Absolutely, he is definitely one that we need a vintage card for. I'm in your camp. I'm astounded we haven't had him this year in the 40th anniversary. That is one of the most iconic card backs, in my opinion. It's just glorious, and it needs to be done. And I know the figure. We've had two versions of it that were different in ways. I think one had a removable helmet, which meant the helmet was a bit too big, and then the decent scaled one was in the Saga collection, I think, and he had swivel elbows. Am I correct in that, Chris?
Yeah, you've got the two correct there. Absolutely. I don't know, with the a lot of the attack drivers and TIE fighter pilots, the helmets are actually quite big. So I don't know.
They might get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like the Legacy one. It's a decent figure. The only thing I would say for me that's a bit odd about that one is the arms are a little bit long. It's I don't know.
Sometimes I don't really understand why people want a removable helmet when the character never took the helmet off in the film. You never see an attack driver without the helmet. I think somebody said to me actually in my comments once, would I want the stormtroopers humanized like the clones? And no, I don't. I really don't. They're for me is when I used to watch Star Wars, you never really knew, when I was a kid, are they a robot? Are they a person under there? I don't know. What are they, and that sort of mystery around them. I think you need to keep that. Obviously, the clones is a great idea, and giving them personalities in the cartoon and everything, that's great. But stormtroopers and anything in the OT that didn't have a removable helmet, I think the figure should match that. To be honest, same with that Boba Fett figure as well.
Yeah,
why does it need it?
Doesn't need it for me. But I think with a lot of those actually, if you've got I imagine that a lot of the 501st Legion, the fans and the guys that do the costuming and what have you, I imagine they're quite into actually some of the stories where you've got the more human side of the stormtroopers. So actually seeing them without the helmets, yet they possibly do want some bit more of that. But I do quite like these are the whole point is it's a faceless army. Faceless evil army. That is the whole point behind them. So
that's part of the menace of them, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. Let's have a look.
Ian says it's kind of mind-boggling that there isn't any 40th anniversary vintage collection 40th anniversary stuff. So I think what they've done is that they've brought things out which they're saying because it's the year of the Empire Strikes Back. So you've got the reissue wave. And the rumored Bespin playset, which is help me out, Chris, what's it called? The chamber.
Carbon freezing
chamber. That's rumored, but it won't have the 40th anniversary sticker on it, will it? They don't brand it like they have done the Black Series in that way, because I think if they did do that, then they'd open themselves up to, well, you've given us three things, to celebrate the year, do you know what I mean? Whereas the Black Series has had two waves, it's having more stuff come out. You've got the double opening bounty hunter set.
Wasn't quite sure what you were doing there, mate, but yes, I know the one you mean. I think that's starting to show up for some people already, that one, isn't it? They've had plenty. They have the probe droid. They've obviously highlighted the Luke and Yoda deluxe pack that's coming out. So yeah, loads and loads of stuff for the Black Series. I think think what they're kind of doing is the retro collection is sort of shoehorned in under the vintage collection banner, and that's our 40th anniversary selection right there. So the six figures and the game, I think that's what we've got as far as 40th goes in TVC, which is a shame, because it absolutely should have had a lot more of a highlight thrown on it from TVC.
So Daniel Lease is saying, love the vintage collection, but due to the complete lack of selection and being able to source them, I'm forced with the Black Series. Can't justify £15 on a vintage collection when I pay extra to get something in a bigger scale. So I agree with the first point on that there is a lack of selection, of course, which is why we're doing what we're doing. I can't really understand that not being able to source them. I mean, I've always managed to get the figures that are out every time. As I say, the websites do sell out. Find them in stores, gone. Those days are gone.
Yep.
You know, that's finished. We're not going to, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to go on a hunt or whatever, which would be great. I'd love to do that. You know, if go and find them on the shelves, that'd be awesome. I was in Asda today and they had the retro collection. They wouldn't let me take the stand, which is really annoying. She said, "Oh no, there's going to be more stock that they'll fill it up." Don't be. No, there's not.
That's your lot for that one.
I've seen everyone taking them over across the country. Just let me have it. She wouldn't let me have it. And also, they're not £15, are they? $12.99, are they?
There's in most places it's $12.99. I think Forbidden Planet tend to stick an extra pound on top, and some of the earlier waves were about $14.99 sort of thing. So yeah, I could see where Daniel's coming from on that side of things, but yeah, you can get them elsewhere. It is a case of keeping an eye open, checking the pre-orders, all that sort of stuff. Certainly, as far as the UK goes, we just don't have the stuff in retail anymore, unfortunately.
Thanks for the signature, buddy. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm going to give a lot of shout outs now for the UK websites that I know of that sell the vintage collection. And obviously you've got In Demand Toys, Star Action Figures. They're the two main ones probably. And if the pre-orders sell out on there, then you can obviously go to Kapow Toys. They often sell out as well. Then after that, you've got Geeky Nerdy Toys. If they have got them, you've got Comic and Cocktails. They sell them. And you've also got a fairly new one, I think, called Toys-A-Rama. Mm-hmm. You know, there's 5 or 6 online stores where you can get the vintage collection. I personally have never had a problem getting the figures that I want. There's been isolated cases, of course, with for example, the Leia Yavin, but that's coming into stock now. But obviously that was held up for some reason. It was coming over from the States or something separate to the other figures in that wave, and they had a bit of an issue with it. But it's sorted out now. I don't think anyone can have a problem getting that figure now.
Yeah. I mean, one of the other things I would recommend is actually build up contacts with people that live in America. Yes, it may be more expensive to ship things across, but there's sometimes they get things. I mean, again, we're seeing $3 figures in some cases over there, which if you struggle to find that figure over here for whatever reason, if you've got a contact in America that can pick you up an extra one and ship it across, maybe collect a couple of them at a time so it makes the shipping worth your while.
Yeah.
Why not do that? It's and I think I have found in the past that actually there are people that are willing to help you out. Back in the original vintage collection run, I had somebody sort me out with the Kmart exclusive scanning technician kits. So you had like an Imperial Trooper.
Yeah, those 2-packs. Yeah, they're great.
That's the ones. Obviously, very difficult to get hold of over here. We didn't have the likes of In Demand Toys and what have you readily to hand. And they shipped them over to me at cost. So it was great. It was, but it is a case of making friends, speak to people, use the community, and give back to the community as well. So if you see something that someone else wants, pick it up for them, ship it over, do it at cost. Don't try and scalp.
Yeah. And I think there's only one Kenobi, Nick, that said also that sometimes he orders like the whole wave or a whole case from Dorkside Toys because they're cheaper in America slightly by a few dollars. if you get the whole wave, the shipping and everything, it actually doesn't work out too much more than if you were paying $13.99 over here. So that's another way that you could potentially get them. I do like this comment actually from Only One. Rest in peace, Dark Side Toys, or is it good riddance? It's good riddance, mate. The bloke was a scumbag. End of.
I had my fair share of difficulties with Dark Side as well.
Bloke was a scumbag. Ran off with everyone's money. Scumbag.
I thankfully didn't get caught up in it towards the end. I'd had my fingers burnt before that. Yeah. So
yeah, same here. I had to pick my figures up at Echo off of him because he just kept saying he's sending them, and I never got them. And then I went up to him and I said, "Where's my figures?" And he just ripped open a box and says, "There you go. There's your figures."
Yeah.
So I really don't understand, where that was coming from. Just be a good business and send people what they pay for. Yeah,
absolutely.
So. Anyone that's in from the US that's watching now, we had a company over here called Dark Side Toys, not to be confused with Dork Side Toys, and the logo did look from far away. You could sometimes get them a little bit confused, so you have to be a bit careful. And it still happens now when you talk about Dark Side or Dork Side Toys, and they go, no, not Dark Side Toys, no, Dork Side Toys. They're perfectly all right. Dark Side Toys they took a lot of pre-orders for Jabba's Palace play sets and skiffs and loads of other stuff, and then they ended up running off with everyone's money and not delivering. I think the only good thing that they did out of anything they ever did was they ordered a load of barges, didn't they, and sorted a few people out with a barge. But that's the only thing that they did. But any company that treats people like that are scumbags, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think like Only One says, good riddance is the answer on that one.
Matt from Universal Collector, thank you, mate. Signed and shared. That is what everyone needs to do. They need to sign and share. Maybe that should be our 3 Logan thing, 3 whatever slogan, like the coronavirus thing. What is it? Stay at home, whatever. We should have 3. Share, sign, then whatever the third one is. We'll just keep it at 2.
Yeah.
Sign and share.
Yes, yeah, nice and clear, just like it is over here.
Yeah. Nearly got a Jabba's Palace from them, but got it from the US in the end. Yeah, exactly, Bradley. Yeah, I paid import prices from In Demand Toys because I wanted it as soon as possible. But yeah, when I went to Florida, I picked up 3 and brought them home. Brought back a few IG-11s as well and sorted out some friends for normal price, or what I paid for in America. I think it was $11. No scalping here.
No, absolutely.
Everyone should be helping everyone out. Why don't Hasbro include stands with their figures anymore? Loved the Clone Wars era stands. Saved me having to buy them. That's a good point. I think obviously the vintage card, it would ruin the aesthetic of the card somewhat. Trying to put a stand in there, maybe if they could make it small enough so it sat in the bottom, maybe underneath that bit of paper, possibly. That's maybe the only way I could see them getting around with it. But if they had it behind, I wouldn't want it behind the figure. No, that would look bad.
That wouldn't work for me. And I mean, I quite liked, and it's what I use for most of my figures actually, is the stands that came with the Saga collection. So like a grey plate, and you had the figure's name on the front of it, the character name on the front of it. And then you actually had it printed into the top of the stand which film they were from. So obviously that only works up till Return of the Jedi, but they look great. They fit the figures really well, and they also released a pack of stands. So I think it came with about 30, maybe 60 different stands in it.
Yeah,
and stickers that you could put the names on as well. So I'd love to see him do something like that again. I think that would work really well. Certainly with things with the vintage collection the way it is, I don't think it'd work, like you say, behind the figure. That
no,
work for me at all.
Just buy them from China.
There you go.
Just buy them from China. if you want to give the Chinese any money. Might do.
Yeah.
So sign, share, back the vintage collection. I like it. Sign, share, support the vintage collection. I like it. Sign, share, save. I like it. I like all of these. They're all good.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Looks
whatever
like
hashtag you use, as long as it's back TVC, fight for TVC, save 375, whichever one you use, that will definitely hit somebody that enjoys the vintage collection, enjoys the line. And yeah, just get them to sign it.
Yeah. Looks like Harry's got his work cut out trying to do those for you in the next image. Just take it.
Oh, he sent me a good one today.
Yeah.
Shall I show it?
Go on.
All right. You keep them talking and I'll share my screen. Hang on.
Okay, so we've got Ian B's question up on the screen. Does anyone else have a problem with the paper-thin cardboard that Hasbro is now using for the TBC card backs? It certainly makes it far more difficult to actually get cards in decent nick. I don't know if that's what you're finding as well. You have to really make sure that it's mint when you're picking it up, and then it's kid gloves once you're actually getting it home as well, because they just knock the edges of them ever so slightly, and they crease and bend very easily. So yes, I'm with you on that one, Ian, definitely. How are you finding them, Tim?
Well, the card backs. Yeah, I know what you mean. I've got one in my hand now, which was VC79. And I remember when the vintage collection started again, and I had the new ones, and I said, I think the card's thinner. I think it's a bit bendier. And then someone else said, no, they're the same. They feel the same to me. But I swore that they were a little bit thinner. I've just got two here. There's not much in it, but I think they are. They are a bit bendier, aren't they? Luckily, I think In Demand Toys, Star Action figures, they pack things pretty well. I've very rarely got a Dodge figure off of them, to be honest. Very rarely.
Yeah. It's I think the thing that I do notice is that these newer ones, if they're not in a case of some sorts, they do start to warp and bend.
Yeah.
A bit easier than the older style do. So
yeah,
just to be aware of that one as well.
Okay, so I'm ready to share this one. So this is one that Harry designed and sent to me today, and it's beautiful. This might be my favorite. So I'm going to share it on the screen now. I'll probably put this one up on Instagram tomorrow, so be sure to hit the little heart button on Instagram when you see it.
This is a live stream exclusive, is that right?
Can I get rid of that comment first?
Yeah.
Hang on. Might have to do this again. Right. Sorry, I'll have to do all this again now. Live TV.
That's it. So again, a live stream exclusive to all of those of you still on the stream.
There you go. Look at that. Now, you can't tell me that we don't need a Bespin Escape Princess Leia in the vintage collection. The Black Series one's lovely as well. I bought that figure. Great figure. Scale it down. Car back like that, I'd be very happy with indeed.
Absolutely. She's it's a fantastic figure that we've not actually had that many of in the 3.75 scale. So yeah, I think that's a great shout on that one. Have you got Harry's Instagram tag or anything in case anyone wants to give him a follow on there as well?
I have, yeah. I'm going to have to find it for you though, because I don't know it off by heart.
We'll come back to that. But those of you who haven't seen Harry's work on Tim's Instagram feed, obviously worth giving Tim a follow over there, because there's some really nice images that are coming forward with the obviously the back TVC hashtag attached to it, and so far every one of them I've looked at and gone, yep, want that on a vintage card, yep, want that one on a vintage card. So yeah, hopefully plenty more of those to come.
Right, I'm gonna put his Instagram into the chat now. This might spark him into actually posting more stuff on his own Instagram, but there you go. It's Yevra2108. He's responsible for all of these images that I've been sharing on Instagram. They're amazing work. Photoshop skills. People have been asking for the template, and I'm sure he might give out the template when we're finished.
Not yet. Not yet. We've got a long way to go.
Yeah, I must have like 25 of them to share, I think. I think I've done about 10 of them so far. We have 99 people on the stream. I think we peaked at 102 at one point, which is great. So thanks for tuning in, guys. It's not over yet. We're going to carry on reading some more of the comments. I'm not too sure how long we will go on for, but so long as there's people watching, we'll carry on. Love to know your thoughts and suggestions for how Hasbro can improve the line, how they can improve distribution, what you want from the vintage collection, how many figures you want a year, specific characters if you want.
Absolutely. It's
here's my friend Harry Nowlett. It's been a pleasure. All for the cause of the Back the TVC. Absolutely. Hi Jared, how you doing, mate? I don't know who you're talking to there, Mark. How's the lip? I haven't hurt my lip. You must be talking to somebody else. I think Hasbro needs to ship these in cases. It would help eliminate damaged card backs sitting on shelves. So they do go in cases to the stores, don't they? Because they go in these shippers, don't they?
Does he mean the plastic clamshells?
Oh right, I see what you mean. Oh, like the Saga collection.
Yes,
Vintage Saga collection.
I think that's what he's tilting at there.
He might be, yeah.
I think you're going to end up paying a premium on those if you do. Whether it can support that increase in price, again, we discussed it earlier. Whether there's going to be those that just rip them off the cards anyway, that just go, well, I'm not that fussed about it. Why am I paying an extra £3 or £4 for this bit of plastic that's just going in the bin? I don't know. And again, it kind of goes back to what I've said, that they're looking to reduce their
plastics. Yeah.
So I can't see them increasing it to add a case like that. I think you are going to have to get them separately and just hope that you get a nice card in the first place.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that about the plastic. They mentioned that a year or so ago that they're gonna. It made me worry a little bit actually about the bubbles and how they're gonna, maybe the figure will be rattling around in the bubble because they won't put the tray in, or be like a Tri logo card.
Just get them in a cardboard box and that's it.
Yeah, kind of take the shine away from the line, really, wouldn't it? Having them just like rattling around in a. Mind you, they could do mailers. I quite like mailers. Those little white one like that.
Wouldn't quite display the same, just a load of mailers, would it?
No. People do display them though.
Yeah. True.
Here we go. Here's Delvian Seek. Hi there, mate. How you doing? He's always comments, which is great. What do you think about Dorkside Toys' comments about the importance of retailers like Walmart? Their orders impact the quantity of 3.75. So what comments are we specifically talking about? Because we do know that they were talking on Rebel Scum, was it? About how they were talking about themselves, weren't they? And about how many they sell and the fact that they sell more vintage collection than they do Black Series. I don't remember reading anything about Walmart. Do you, Chris?
No, I didn't see any follow-up on that. My guess would be that if it is important, it's along the lines of Hasbro still need to sell figures through Walmart because they do still sell decent quantities through there to keep the actual production costs at a reasonable height. So, but I don't know. I'd ask Delvian to elaborate on that a little bit. So there's a good question here from Paul Whiteley. Your favourite Return of the Dead vintage collection in 2 years, what would they be? Also hi from Liverpool.
Where's that comment?
It's about 4 above where you are. That's the one there.
Your favourite Return of the Jedi vintage collection in 2 years? What would they be? Oh, you mean for when they do the
40th
anniversary?
Yeah.
So what would we want? Bib Fortuna.
I think, well, yeah, absolutely. I think he's got to be in there, definitely. He's so obviously that would suit the one for the original 96. Is there one that's unmade that you particularly want from Return of the Jedi?
Me?
Or, yeah.
Ula?
Yeah. That'd be a good one on a vintage card. Did you manage to get the one with the Jabba's playset at all?
No.
It's a great figure, really worth picking up. But again, going for silly money.
Yeah. When you say like unmade, I'm talking about like, well, I was going to say that's already been in the vintage collection, but the whole point is we're trying to get new figures here. But I think she needs a vintage card. Is my point, you know?
Yeah. I'd agree with you. I mean, for me, the Tame Dren Garen is the skiff guard that manages to get a shot on Luke on Jabba's sail barge.
Might be a bit ahead of you there. Just carry on. You carry on.
He's always been one of my favourite characters. So hopefully Hasbro get round to putting him onto a vintage card back in 2 years' time. That'd be lovely. That's the chap right there. He's got an interesting look to him. One of Jabba's goons. Yeah, absolutely. What's not to love about that? And again, in a couple of years, like you say, Paul, that'd be a great one on a vintage card for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's some that I just want released that are great figures that are just hard to get from the Legacy collection. I mention them all the time, but I'm going to mention them again. You've got Jiran or Giran, whichever the way you say it. You know, the guy that sort of hugs the Rancor keeper when the Rancor dies. I think that's him anyway. And the Nikto Gunner, Nisam. Is it Nisam?
Mm-hmm.
You know, for that we need both of those. Well, for the Jabba's Palace playset, you need Jiran.
Yep.
And for the again, why did that 3-pack that we got with the skiff guards? They gave us the new one, Vidane.
Yep.
And then they gave us Vizam and Brock. I would have loved it if maybe Brock wasn't in there and we'd got like the Nikto Gunner or something. That would have pleased me a bit more.
It's an odd one. I know Brock Starshaw was one of the tough ones to find from that from the
Black series. Yeah.
Whereas I know over here we saw plenty of Vizam.
Yeah.
As he was one of the waves that Asda got in, so there was plenty of him around. I'm not going to complain too much about them on vintage cards. They all look like nice ones. Again, It just goes back to what we were saying earlier. We just want more.
Yeah, the Rancor Keeper as well from the Legacy collections.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that figure. They wouldn't really need to do anything to it. Just stick it on a vintage card. There's one of your 96 done. This is a lot of people's issues with those reissue waves. And this is when I was going back to that point that those reissue waves are not repacks. They're something completely separate. They're a reissue of figures that are already in the vintage collection. When I talk about repacks and smart repacks, you're talking about figures from other lines that are still good enough, more than good enough. That Jiran figures are like unbelievable figure, detail, articulation, everything. It could stroll into the vintage collection. There's a few that are like that could easily just go in and kill two birds with one stone. One, you'd people would get those expensive figures again because they are expensive. That Jiran goes for 60 quid.
Yep.
But you'd also get him on a vintage card. So you've got the people that say, I want characters from the original trilogy that weren't in the 96. So there's one. And then you've got the people that want the figures that were in the 96 with the Rancor Keeper. Job done.
Yeah.
This...
I mean, for me, it's one of those that We haven't got an update to the vintage Rancor in a vintage collection package. It's the sort of thing that you could pack release that, and at the same time release a playset with the like the Rancor's gate. And that's where you pack in your legacy collection,
Jiran
Rancor
and
Malakili on a
Malakili,
vintage card back.
I can't believe I just called him Malakili. Actually, his name's the Rancor Keeper. Yeah,
but that's the way to do it for me.
And here's another one, Harry Tessek Squidhead, 100%. You know, straight from the ~96. Awesome figure. Even back in the head sculpt, even back in 1983, was just unbelievable. So, but again, another card that we do need. What does everybody else think in the chat? I'd like to see Jabba himself, a modern 3.75. I'm too poor to have got the barge. Yeah, a lot of people do say this in my comments, my friend Mick. And you know, I'm not sort of saying I'd quite happy for that to come out. I'm not snobby enough to say, oh no, it's got to be exclusive to the barge. You know, I think the exclusiveness about the barge is one, the barge itself, and the card back that came with the yak face.
Yep,
that's the exclusive thing about it. The Jabba is a decent Jabba. They want to bring it out in a playset and use that Jabba. I've got no qualms about that at all.
Yeah. Well, again, the Jabba, again going back to the vintage, the Kenner stuff. Jabba came on his own with, yep, there you go, with the throne. Stick it in a vintage playset, get it out there. It's simple stuff. Yeah, and I mean, like I say, I've got the one from 2010 that came with Ula and the throne, and it's a lovely set. It really is.
That is expensive now.
Yeah. I'd have no problem with them re-releasing that for the one that came with the barge.
So Breakman says, do you think they are holding back the Return of the Jedi figures for the anniversary? And I think they possibly are now, because I think that boat sailed. You know, the barge, the skiff, the Jabba's palace. You know, that's if they were going to do it, they would have done it then, I think. And now they can probably see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's the 40th anniversary of the Return of the Jedi. But then saying that, they haven't done anything for the Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary, particularly, have they? They haven't really given us anything that we've never had before from the Empire Strikes Back. So I don't know. But I think I asked you about this, Chris, not so long ago, didn't I? I said, do you think we'll have to wait until 2023 for Bib Fortuna? And you said, yeah, most probably.
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, it's. I mean, we touched on it earlier about there not being too much for Empire this year. Hopefully, with the movement of back TVC and Fight for TVC, Save 375, that this will get the message to Hasbro that we do want more, and actually that they can do a decent hit for the anniversaries when they come around, because there'll be the support for the line. They know that actually if we throw out some vintage collection figures that are specific to a film like that on an anniversary, that people are buying.
Yeah.
And again, hopefully they've seen the success of the barge. They've seen the success of the that 3-pack that we were talking about. I still think the skiff's been very successful from what I've seen. Yes, I've seen it on clearance in some places, but again, over here in the UK, it's just been selling and selling and selling, no problem at all. So yeah, for me, yeah, it makes sense to keep going with the Jabba's Palace stuff.
Yeah, but as you know, this is what I've been talking about. Customs for the Kid here says, I have more interested in characters from the Disney films and the prequel films, and this is where I've been saying, you know, everybody just wants different things. You know, I'm talking about the Return of the Jedi here, and completing the 96, but that's not all I want. You know, I want things from the prequel films. I also want things from the Disney films, some more than others.
Yep.
I would prefer figures maybe from Solo and Rogue One to the sequel trilogy, but there's a lot of people out there that want sequel trilogy figures. You know, we haven't had a fin yet from the whole of the sequel trilogy. So I completely understand that, and that is the issue. Everyone wants different things, and there's no sort of joined up thing. But the point is, I think, and we'll go back to it now, that if they give us more per year in terms of volume, 30 figures, for example, then they'll get through them quicker. They'll be able to give you 10 sequel trilogy figures and 10 OT figures and 10 other things from Rogue One, Solo, and a bit of Clone Wars or whatever. They can, when they're only bringing out 9 or 12 new figures or whatever it is, you're going to get one from each thing here and there and everywhere. It's just it's not enough if you're lucky. Yeah.
And I mean, like you say, the Disney films and prequel films, they're both eras that I enjoy. Certainly, again, much like yourself, Tim, the Rogue One, Solo, Force Awakens. I did enjoy those. Enjoyed the Rise of Skywalker too. For me, the big one is I didn't feel there was enough difference in the character designs for Last Jedi, and obviously a lot of that is because it picks up straight after the Force Awakens, so you're not going to get too much difference there. But I appreciate there will be other people that is their favourite film, and they're going to want figures from that film. I think by getting it out there that, right, well, this is the character from that film that most people want, it stands a much better chance of that one being made.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we can get more per year, we can get more of the figures we want.
Yeah. Thanks, Jared. Thank you very much for watching, mate. Do I think I could investigate releasing them as a podcast? I honestly do not know how to do that. So I really don't know anything about podcasts, but if someone wants to let me know how I can get the audio of this on a podcast, I'm more than happy to look into it. But it's not really my area of expertise, if I'm honest. But I can see a few other comments in there talking about case assortments and bigger assortments. We've mentioned this. 4 figures in a way is not good enough. It needs to be 8 figures, 6 new and 2 thrown in, like your Rogue One Stormtrooper or whatever. We've mentioned that quite a few times, haven't we? That's how we believe it should be. That way you're getting maybe 24 new figures a year, perhaps, and 6 or so that are highly sought after figures through army building or whatever, Rogue One Stormtrooper, a clone, or whatever it might be. The one on Yavin, the one on the Tantive 4, the Rebel Trooper, another one that people want in mass. Another one's the Hoth Soldier from Inside.
The Hoth Echo Base battle.
Echo Base, yeah. Everyone wants multiples of that, so this is. Sorry,
I was going to say I saw a mock-up of what that could have been as a re-release the other day, and it had the figure, it had an alternate head with like the soft cap with the flaps open, additional weaponry, a backpack, and it looked like a bit like the ammo pack.
I've seen that. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, there's a great mock-up, and
that's the sort of thing. It's a character that everyone is screaming for to be re-released, and if you do it that way, you're actually getting some extra play value out of it with the alternate heads. So that would be a great one.
So this is how I feel that the cases should be. It should be obviously cases of 8 in those boxes and 6 new and 2 army building or highly sought after re-release figure or whatever. And then I don't think anyone can really moan at repacks or whatever. And obviously those figures have got to be seriously thought about who's in those cases, because you don't want them clogging things up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a sensible case mix, definitely. What's up we got here?
I've been podcasting for years, but people prefer visuals. Yeah, YouTube is kind of the platform. I don't claim to know anything about podcasting, unfortunately.
It's one of those. I mean, I like podcasts, so I've got a fair few that I do listen to. I particularly like Galaxy of Toys and also the Sandcrawler. Are 2 of the main ones I listen to, and Jedi Business Talk. are all very much collecting based. But I do also find that actually with you, because Star Wars is a very visual thing. A platform like YouTube, you can show what you're talking about, and I feel that's a bit of an easier thing to absorb and to digest. So
yeah.
It's one of them.
Purple Police. Hope you're not the real police. Says, I like that idea. Star Wars Legend Vintage. Oh, someone else. Oh, I think it's Geek Rush. Here we go. I know this is impossible. Well, I'd love some Legends figures once in a while. So they have done that. They gave us the Shadow Trooper, didn't they? But they don't call it Legends. They just give it the Star Wars card.
Yeah, that's right.
They used to do obviously Expanded Universe, but they can't call it now because they ditched that. I kind of think that maybe if they did design a Legend one, that would be pretty cool on the card back there. I'm pretty certain the one that's coming out for Onar, it's got his name completely wrong. Hondo Anaka.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be a Galaxy's Edge card though, because he is, when GameStop revealed their sort of lineup, it said GE.
Yeah.
Hondo Anaka. So I'm wondering if the card back's going to have Galaxy's Edge on it, because I think as a entity, Disney want to promote Galaxy's Edge as well, and that's another way of doing it, isn't it? So
highlighting it's out there,
yeah,
absolutely.
And there's other characters they can do from Galaxy's Edge as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that they could pull from Legends. I think the Shadow Trooper, as it were, was an easy one to do because it's a quick repaint. But again, a lot of it comes down to, well, what do you want? What do you want from Legends? I like Mara Jade. I think she'd have been better with the Black Widow head from around that time that we got on the orange carded Black Series one. But yeah, great figure to put on great character to put on a vintage card back, certainly. Thrawn's another one that I know he's no longer Legends, but he's still old EU that he comes from. To be put onto Daniel East just mentioning Thrawn as well there. There's plenty out there to do. Oh, there he is. It's as if you read our minds there, Tim. Yeah, he's. I mean, I enjoyed the character back from the Heir to the Empire book and what have you, and obviously another a slightly different but very interesting take on him in Rebels. He was still similar character but slightly tweaked.
Yeah.
For that, so yeah, he'd be fantastic on a vintage card. Have you got any Thrawn figures at all?
No, and I didn't. There was one that came out in Rebels, wasn't there? And did it come in a 2-pack? And you got the one on the Rogue One card, didn't you?
Yes, there's been a couple of versions.
To be honest, I'm never really into the 5 POAs. I've got to say, no. It's just not really my. I mean, I must admit, I bought a load of the Force Awakens ones when they came out because it's just like new Star Wars figures, you know.
Yeah.
But I slowly, or actually quickly, lost a bit of interest in those. They don't really do much for me particularly. When you're seeing a Rey come out in the vintage collection, previously the Black Series, obviously, then why do I need the 5 POA one? And this is the problem. You see, if they were bringing out more in the vintage collection, then we wouldn't need 5 POA at all.
No, absolutely. I picked up some of the 5 POA stuff from like the Solo line for a lot of the characters that we're just never going to get a chance to see in vintage collection. Like there was the 2-pack with Lando and the Kessel Guard. You've got Moloch that we're just struggling to get around to. So I've got those ones as the example of those figures because you're not going to get them super articulated. And for some of the backgrounders, that's kind of okay. I prefer it to be vintage collection. Don't get me wrong, but I appreciate that we're not going to get it for everything.
I must admit, I do have the Moloch, and I've got the. To be honest, that line of figures was pretty good. The Solo line.
Decent sculpts as well on the face.
Yeah. The Rio was a good figure and whatever. But imagine, I've also got the Black Series Rio. But just imagine if 3 3/4 inch Rio, it all moves and everything. It'd be, be awesome on that card back as well. You can imagine the picture on the card back. So, yeah.
Yes, the Legacy collection that came on the comic pack. Decent figure. Possibly a little bit short for Thrawn, as he is depicted in Rebels, but no, it's certainly a decent figure. That one.
I'm just pulling up another image now because somebody's mentioned D Lovink has mentioned this one, so I thought I'd just share this one quickly as well.
Crikey, you're giving away all of the upcoming ones.
Yeah, but people are on the stream, so they're hanging around, so I'm showing them some stuff. These will all be on Instagram. So give them a thumbs up or whatever it is on Instagram, a heart, a like, or whatever it is called on Instagram. Get them out there because they'll all have the hashtags on. Right, guys, we are at 2 hours. It does go quickly. We've had a good conversation once again. So we're just going to end on, again, if you could please share the link to the petition, sign the petition yourself, share it on as many places as you can until people get annoyed with it. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, groups, wherever, Facebook groups, whatever it is, share it out high and wide and sign it yourselves and get some other people to sign it as well. And hopefully, I'm just going to check now actually to see how many signatures that we do actually have. Let me refresh the page. We have 1,815, which is another 300 and odd, and it's still going up. It's still going up right now, which is another 300 odd since we started the stream. So we've had 302 hours. It's at 1,800. It only launched at 11 o'clock this morning ET, Eastern Time. So tomorrow, who knows, could be at 3,000. You never know. This time next week could be at 5,000. You never know. We just need more people to get their eyes on it, more people to share it, more people to sign it. And if we all do that, then they will listen, I promise.
Absolutely. And whenever you're sharing it, do make sure you're using the appropriate hashtags. Back TVC, Fight for TVC, and Save 375. They're the ones that we're using. So yeah, use those as well, and it'll the petition will reach more people that way as well.
Okay then, guys. So that is we've still got 82 people, but I do apologise. We are going to have to go. It's been fun as usual. So also don't forget to drop a like on the stream, and also if you want to make a comment in the actual stream part rather than the comment section of who you want or whatever, then that helps the stream video get out there for people that missed it and they can watch it on demand or whatever it's called. So if you could do that as well, that'd be awesome. So as always, guys, I thank you very much for supporting me and my channel. Massively appreciate it. Of course, things are going well, so more videos are coming, more reviews, all that kind of stuff. So maybe some more live streams in the next week or so as well, if Chris is free as well. I'm sure he'd like to come on.
More than happy to be here, mate. Thank you for inviting me.
Good. All right then, chaps. Thanks, guys. We are going to be off, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Good night.